All right, welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman. After a very productive and important weekend for Rutgers football on the recruiting trail, hosting 21 official visitors this past weekend and gaining, as of Monday morning, 9 verbal commitments in the class of 2025, more than doubling the class, now 17 commitments long. And wanted to go through the 9 commitments in this episode. But first, before I do, a reminder, this episode and all current episodes of the Scarlet Faithful podcast are brought to you by the Knights of the Raritan, the Rutgers NIL Collective. There's a link to the free newsletter in the description of this episode. Check it out. They keep you up to date on all things Rutgers athletics and find out more about Knights of the Raritan, which provides a unique way for Rutgers athletic programs to be successful in the ever-changing NIL environment. Become a member of Knights of the Raritan for a chance to win giveaways, unique experiences, exclusive event invites, and more, as well as be able to help Rutgers student athletes in NIL, which 9 more prospective Rutgers football players that verbally committed this past weekend. And right now, let's start with a summary of kind of what happened. They were at 8 commits entering the weekend. They were ranked. And all the rankings I'm going to use are 24/7 Sports composite rankings, which includes several major recruiting services, including Rivals. They were ranked number 33 entering the weekend. We'll get to what rankings, how important that really is right now, but we'll get all into it. But now, after 9 commits added, 17 total, the class is currently ranked as of Monday morning, June 3rd, first Monday of June, number 20th in the 24/7 composite rankings. One thing that I always look at that is important is the overall player grade average for the class. Rutgers right now is sitting at 86.74. Important to note, last season they finished at 86.90, and they finished with a national ranking of 35th. Part of why they're ranked so high is that other classes are still yet to be filled. I'm talking about the national landscape, and a lot of the top recruits have not committed yet. So that 86.74 player grade is more in line. If you look at last season and the years beyond, that's kind of in the 35 to 50 range in terms of where classes rank. One thing to note is last season with an 86.90, Rutgers did finish with 4 4-star recruits. One thing that was interesting, and services kind of update as we go, and it's a little bit early. There will be a summer update after June camp season. So that's something to watch for in terms of Rutgers' overall rank. But at the end of the day, they had 21 official visitors, a lot of highly ranked guys, a lot of not highly ranked guys, but players they obviously felt, the staff, Greg Schiano, the coaching staff, are guys that are going to help this program in the future. And they got 9 commitments out of it. So looking at that breakdown, right now, the class is comprised of all 3 stars. Like I said, this is composite rankings. There are some services that rank certain guys 4 stars, and I think you'll ultimately see a couple that jump that way. In terms of 4-star, Rutgers does have Talibi Kaba committed. He's 4-star per 24/7 Sports, not in the composite rankings. He also visited this past weekend as well, but he has a really high grade of 90. So in applying that, right now, Rutgers now in the 17 commits, they have 8 players with an 88 grade or higher. 88 as a class is an average, typically lands you around the top 25, top 30 recruiting classes. So I make a point of noting that because there are a lot of players that they were able to commit so far that are, trending high. And like I said, their grades might get higher based on June's season and obviously the fall update as well. But in terms of state right now, they got 3 commits from Georgia, 2 from New York State, and then 1 each from Florida, Michigan, Maryland, which was from Baltimore, and New Jersey. In terms of, I really like to look at Power 5 offers as well. It's not just about the star ratings, it's not just about the player grade. And in that regard, they had 4 players with a ton of power offers and players that have future scheduled visits that have now canceled and committed to Rutgers. So in terms of position breakdown, 4 defensive line, 2 wide receiver, 2 offensive line, and a cornerback. And let's get into each commit. So talking first let's start with the power offer list, guys that really jumped out. And the first one, who also is now the third highest rated player in the class, is Jordan Houston. I mentioned him on my Friday preview. He plays for St. Thomas More. Graded a 3-star receiver, 88 grade, listed as the 71st best in the composite. He has an 88 grade, 92nd best receiver nationally in terms of composite. 6'1", 190-pound receiver, St. Thomas More, is from Middle Village, New York, and his offer list is extensive. He has 12 power offers total, 5 in the Big Ten, aside from Rutgers, Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, and Penn State. So certainly impressive there. Also BC, Duke, Pitt, Syracuse, Wake Forest, West Virginia, ultimately committing to Rutgers. Some notes on him: his offer list, really impressive. He is a former teammate, Sage Claudius, his former high school teammate at Oakdale, was his host. So there's a connection there that obviously helped. Been recruiting Houston for a long time, 2+ years. Has a lot of speed, and on tape just looked like someone that knows how to play. Goes to the ball well, runs well after the catch. So Houston was someone that one of their top receiving targets that they've been on for a long time, as I mentioned, and having a connection with a teammate is certainly strengthens that relationship. And it was great that they were able to kind of close the deal here this past weekend. And then in terms of Vernon Allen from Baltimore City College in Baltimore, Maryland, he has a player grade rating of 87. He right now is 9th in the class in terms of overall player rating, but he has a ton of upside. He actually leads the class right now in terms of the commitments from this past weekend. Of the 9 commitments, he has 16 power offers and 6 from the Big Ten. So really impressive. 6'3", 185 pounds, obviously needs to put on some weight. In terms of the Big Ten, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, also has a Notre Dame offer, also has a Florida offer. Really impressive offer list there. He had over 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns as a junior. He had official visits set for Duke, Wisconsin, and Syracuse. Reportedly have now been canceled. He uses his body really well. He could be an outside guy, big play threat. He's someone that jumps out on tape as, he's a mature player. He runs routes really well. He's crisp. He's fundamentally sound the way he catches the ball and moves really well after the catch as well. So he also plays free safety. So having Vernon Allen and Jordan Houston both commit this weekend, 2 playmaking receivers, really adds to Dave Brock's stable in the future. Having so many great young receivers with a lot of potential, speed. As much as speed is important, both of these guys look pretty just developed as high school incoming seniors, and should be able to, in terms of development under Dave Brock, certainly have a lot of upside and versatility just in terms of potentially being, on the outside, big play threats is something that Rutgers obviously needs. In fact, that both of them, combined 28 power offers and 9 Big Ten offers aside from Rutgers combined. Really impressive what they were able to do with wide receiver in terms of commitments so far from this past weekend. Another recruit that committed that jumps out from this past weekend is Nakia Wynn, the offensive lineman from Muskegon, Michigan, 6'5", 280, 3-star, 87 player grade, ranked 52nd at his position. He's a high school right tackle. Just on tape, you see why Pat Flaherty loves him, because he's extremely aggressive in his approach. He's fundamentally sound, certainly needs to add a lot of strength at the offensive line position. Probably could play some guard as well. Had 28 starts in the last 2 seasons. His team going to the state finals both years. So that is certainly something that jumps out. No sacks allowed over last year. And also Wisconsin, Michigan State, Pitt, and Kentucky, all schools after him and wanted him to visit as well. So again, getting a kid with that kind of offer list, he has 12 power offers and 6. They include Indiana, Michigan State, Minnesota, Purdue, and Wisconsin. Also has offers from Ole Miss, Arkansas, Cincinnati, Kansas, So lots of really good. Pitt, Power 5 offers, Vanderbilt. So a few SEC offers sprinkled in, Kentucky interest. Listen, these are 2 recruits now that Rutgers beat out over Wisconsin that they were going to visit. And Rutgers got commitments from Wynn and Allen. So that is a takeaway as well in terms of something that is different from Rutgers in terms of recruiting within the Big Ten. And that's great to see. Some other notable recruits that stand out. Chris Vigna, offensive lineman from Bergen Catholic. Always great to get a Bergen Catholic commit. He has a player rating of, in terms of 24/7 sports alone, 88. The composite has him closer or below at 86, and 79th interior lineman nationally. 24/7 sports much higher on him, 35th nationally, and he's got a really good group of offers as well. 8. Rutgers is the lone Big Ten offer. However, Boston College, Cincinnati, Duke, Pitt, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and West Virginia, big body kid that probably, is slated for a guard position, but certainly a developmental guy that Rutgers can get in. And he talked in interviews about wanting to play for Pat Flaherty. Again, going back to Dave Brock and Pat Flaherty, the credibility that they brought the Rutgers offense, despite the struggles the last couple of years, obviously with the quarterback change and Kirk Shiraka, we hope to see an improved offense this coming season. But just the position groups with Flaherty and Brock, the credibility that they've brought Rutgers on the recruiting trail and the type of commit they're able to get now, it's been great to see. And Vigna is just another example, again, along with Wynn. That's 2 impressive offensive linemen. So 2 positions of note, wide receiver and offensive line. A lot of success this past weekend in adding to the 25 class with those commitments. And also interesting that, those were the bulk of the guys that had the Power 5 offers in terms of Vigna and Wynn combining for 20 Power 5 offers, 5 other Big Ten schools offering Wynn. And then in terms of Houston and Allen, again, 28 combined Power 5 offers and 9 other Big Ten offers between them. Another guy that for me jumps out that I think is a sleeper in the class, not one of the higher rated guys. But again, if you look at power offers and then just in terms of his film and his intangibles, his measurement, is Raiden Bruins, the 6'4" edge rusher out of Lynn Haven, Florida, plays for Crawford Mosley High School, 86 player rating, 76 best edge per the 24/7 composite. Did have a few other Power 5 offers, which includes Rutgers, Colorado, Miami. Always good to see Miami offer Florida kids. West Virginia had an SMU offer as well. Interest from Florida State and Ole Miss. The thing that stands about it for Bruins is his long arms. He potentially could grow even more. I also like that he's a 3-sport athlete. He plays hoops, where he's been a good basketball player there. Also shot put. He could play, he also has versatility. He could play either end or potentially on the interior line. Also plays tight end in high school and just super athletic. Certainly needs to gain strength, but he's a guy that could play either side of the line, I think. Also playing other sports, has good hands. I just like the multi-sport guys. And I think that's a guy that could end up being a real steal for them. As well as, and then there's 2 Georgia commits that I think could end up being, really big additions for this program. Michael Clayton, cornerback out of Warner Robins, composite grade 88, ranked 568th nationally, 24/7 sports composite, 50th best cornerback. Offer list not that great, to be honest with you. There's a lot of talent in Georgia. He seems like the kind of guy that probably will get more Power 5 offers, and some of the Blue Bloods might try to steal him later on. But had a lot of the academies and MAC schools offering him previously. He is a track guy, speed guy, runs 100 meters, 200 meters, really good closing speed on tape. Where he's just, one thing that is going to be different for him is that he plays off the ball quite a bit, plays off the line quite a bit, and will need to learn how to play more press coverage. But, in the times on film that he did, he looked pretty good at it, and he can be physical when needed. But this is a guy that Greg Schiano probably was licking his chops for to get in that secondary group. And then Chase Linton. I should note that Linton is the second highest rated commit as of now, highest rated to commit this past weekend, has an 89 player grade from North Atlanta. The 6'4" defensive lineman, ranked 500 nationally, 24/7 sports composite, 54th best DL, just 57th in the state. But again, Georgia is loaded with talent, and his offer list as well. Not a ton of a lot of Group of Five schools, some MAC schools, no other Power Five schools, and also a track guy. Competes in the triple jump, the shot put. In terms of Linton, he took 2 unofficial visits to Tennessee, so some interest there. He's got great burst ability off the line, on the snap, as well as just his explosiveness. He's able to really utilize his speed and quickness for a big guy. I think the key there is, can he keep it while adding bulk, strength, and weight, which he obviously will need to do in the Big Ten level. But this is another player that I think, although he's got a good player grade and rating, not a lot of big offers, but Rutgers all over him and able to get him to commit. So getting both Clayton and Linton to commit this weekend, big wins as well. And to round out the class, they also got a commitment from Myron Gurman from Spencerport, New York. Big bodied defensive lineman, 6'6", ranked number 7 in the state per the composite rankings, 1,057th nationally, 103rd best defensive line. Just has offers from Rutgers, Buffalo, and Connecticut. But, again, you can't teach physical traits, and 6'6" obviously has to put on a lot of weight. But, looked pretty good on film. You can see why they like him just in terms of his fundamentals, his approach, and, is a guy that certainly would be a developmental piece for Pat Flaherty. But having that type of size, they're going to add on the weight and strength and see what they can do there. And then also they added 3rd Georgia recruit Braxton Kyle from North Gwinnett, Suwanee, Georgia. Also 3-star, just an 84 player grade on the composite, but is nationally ranked at 1,209, 104 in Georgia. No other Power 5 offers as well. The biggest thing that stood out, and this is, I think, why probably Greg Schiano and the staff noticed him on film, is that he never stopped playing until after the whistle. That has to be an intangible that Greg Schiano and the staff loved about him. He's extremely moldable. You can't teach size again. And, this is a guy that has a high motor and just appears to be a really hard worker on film. It's got to translate off the field as well. And, listen, that's the thing with recruiting rankings. Right now he's the lowest rated guy, lowest rated commit in the class out of 17. But would it shock me in 3 years if this guy's a starter or a big time contributor along the defensive line? No, it wouldn't. Obviously, Rutgers knows what they want in terms of character, in terms of guys coming to the program academically, and what they bring. You got to love that how they went out and are, again, targeting. We know they have some commits from North Carolina once again, now breaking into Georgia, keeping that Florida pipeline going, keeping that Big Ten footprint going, bringing another player from Michigan, and keeping the tri-state area, Baltimore, New York, New Jersey. Rutgers just working at all angles in terms of building this recruiting class for 2025. So just to recap, in terms of where the class currently stands, as of Monday, 17 commits, hoping to get more. 2 notable players that did visit this weekend that have not committed, but it was impressive. Rutgers got on. One that's trending pretty well, Jayleen Matthews, the 6'5" offensive lineman from Toms River North. Tennessee has been all over him. Miami, Georgia, Arkansas. He's got a really impressive offer list, 30 total, a couple dozen power offers. And to get him to visit, is obviously trending well right now. And we'll see what happens in terms of his future with Rutgers. But, they're doing everything they can to close on him. And that would be, a big win in terms of his player rating, 88. He's a composite. He's at a 91. So top 250 national recruit, top 5 New Jersey recruit, top 30 offensive tackle. We'll see what happens there. And then the 4-star linebacker, DJ McClary from Jersey City, Henry Snyder High School, Penn State commit, getting him to visit over the weekend. That was impressive in its own right. Obviously it'll take a lot to get him to flip, but Rutgers obviously putting time in there and believing they have a shot. So those are 2 big names to watch for in terms of the rest of this week. See if some other commits maybe come from the visitors that were there as well. But right now, in terms of how Rutgers class stands as of Monday morning, number 20 overall nationally. Again, Doesn't really matter where their rank is right now. It's where they finish. But in terms of that player grade, the average player grade, they're trending very similarly to last year, despite not having any clear-cut 4 stars right now. I think those recruiting rankings will change, but they're right under that 87 average player grade, which puts them in that 35 to 45 range. Last year, finishing 35th. You hope that ultimately this class can get closer to 30, 25 and in the long term, and that's where Rutgers stays in terms of their kind of path moving forward under Schiano, now that the program looking to break through with even more success this year. But at the end of the day, they know the type of player they want. Greg Schiano has spoken about being a developmental program. They got some really highly rated kids now in this 25 class. They have some other guys that they obviously believe in the long term that they can develop and mold into really successful Big Ten players. So getting 9 commitments Saturday and Sunday. Greg Schiano had a birthday over the weekend. Certainly a productive weekend for the program. And we wait and see whatever other commitments they get from this week, from this past weekend in terms of official visitors, and then how they ultimately finish out this class. I think a real positive has been Rutgers being able to build the class early in the cycle, going into the season, pretty much having it set. This is what happened with the 24 class, and you're seeing that now with the 25 class, a similar plan, 17 commits. And it also allows you in the transfer portal era to focus on adding pieces to complete your class and complete holes in your roster through the transfer portal, but by having that base core from your recruiting class. So they're identifying guys early on in the process that they want and having a huge weekend as a result. So a lot of positive stuff there. I'm wearing a shirt, Keep Chopping, from Night and Day Apparel. Check it out if you can get it with a 10% discount, Scarlet Faithful. And more to come with the Rutgers recruiting. I'll have plenty more analysis and guests to talk about this 25 class that's still being shaped. But wanted to get through all the activity from this weekend. Wanted to give as detailed a summary as I could in terms of the 25 class and the 9 commits from this past weekend. And I'll keep everything updated in terms of this week, any future commits that come along. Certainly a lot of reason for hope and optimism with the class that they're building. Thanks for listening once again to the Scarlet Faithful podcast, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.